Marines are training Iraqi troops. Now, the Pentagon says that there has been no direct attack on that base. So think about it. You've got al-Qaeda in Yemen, ISIS in Iraq and Syria. You ever think what would happen if these guys all joined forces, kind of like an Avengers of Evil? Well, this guy's been worrying about it a lot. He's Benjamin Collins. He's a former Green Beret. Ben, good to have you back. That's my biggest fear, that even though they compete with one another, not only for funding, but for staffing and recruits, they might decide we're a lot more effective together than we are apart. And that scares you, doesn't it?
It does. It certainly does. I mean, I think for a long time we've been looking at these two groups almost in competition. I think when the Charlie Hebdo attacks in Paris came out, it became much more prevalent when we saw they came out and claimed responsibility. AQAP did. But I think if you look at it right now, the two of them are sitting on two different poles, right? You've got AQAP that has the historical logistical access. They've got training sites. They've got the historical support infrastructure networks all the way through Europe. Hopefully not here, but perhaps here in the U.S. they've got some support networks. On the other hand, you've got ISIS, right, that is accumulating somewhere between 1 to 3, depending on reports, $1 to $3 million a day from oil revenues or hostage payments. So on the one hand, you've got the historical knowledge and the recruits, and on the other hand, you've got the money to fund it. So I think if the two of them actually did come together, I think it would present a pretty alarming consequence for the U.S.
You know, everyone fears this great caliphate, Captain, that where they all kind of come together and they all join forces. I'm oversimplifying it. I used to think that was impossible, and even a year ago, unlikely. Now I'm not so sure. What do you think?
Well, I think, you know, we have to really look at the tribal infrastructure, right? So especially right now with what's going on with Yemen, as was just previously discussed with the Houthis. You know, those are primarily made up of a number of tribes. I think that on the one hand, there could be this, you know, this conglomerate of evil insofar. But to be honest, Neil, I think that some of the sectarian differences would, at least on the front of it, on the face of it, make that somewhat difficult to accomplish.
Yeah, but don't their combined hatred for us trump whatever differences they have amongst themselves?
Oh, without a doubt. And look, if there's anything that's going to bring them together, it's a hate of us, and it's also the narrative, right? And the narrative right now is certainly that it seems like we're playing into. So ISIS, al-Qaeda, you know, the narrative is that, you know, especially the West is cozying up to the Shias, right? And they certainly see that with the way that our president acts towards Iran, now with the Houthis, the Iranian-backed Houthis within Yemen.
Wow.
And to me, that's quite alarming. And I don't think, if you know, it's been said, but we don't have a solution to ISIS until we have a solution to Yemen, or to Syria. And there's no solution to Syria that doesn't encompass Iran. And I think this president has shown that he's willing to sacrifice just about anything on the table to get this nuclear deal that he thinks he's going to get.
All right, this is the one that would get Iran to make some sort of concessions there, and everything is held up on that. Captain, thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome, Neil. It's nice.
I'll tell you what I do want. For a member of ISIS to sleep with one